Hi, my name is Alan, and this is my journey to running my first marathon. I did it, guys. I am a marathon runner. Here it is. I think I'm gonna wear this all the time now. I know it's heavy, but the purpose of this video is I want to kind of share with you guys a little bit of my journey and why I decided to run a marathon, and also share with you guys my experience during the marathon. And hopefully it will inspire you to either run a marathon or make some big changes in your life. To get started, I'm going to kind of go backwards a little bit. About 2.5 years ago, I was actually battling a meth addiction. I was addicted to meth and I had lost my job. I was at the verge of losing my apartment and car. And at that point, I was trying everything to overcome that addiction, but I couldn't figure out how. I would stay clean for a little bit, then relapse. But it wasn't until one day I went to the movies and I saw Brittany Runs a Marathon. And if you've never seen that movie, it tells a great story about overcoming self-doubt, self-worth, and it was such a good message that when I was watching that movie, I said inside of me, I said, if I figure out a way to overcome this meth addiction, I will run a marathon. And it wasn't until shortly after that God found me. I heard God's voice speak to me, and he said, I made you perfectly in your mother's womb, and the promises I have for your life still stands. And at that moment, I decided to let that life aside. I went into a program to get help, and in that program, by the grace of God, he transformed me. He delivered me from the meth addiction. He delivered me from any strongholds in my life, and he started to restore everything that I had lost. And today, 2.5 years later, I'm living above and beyond anything that I have ever imagined, clean and sober, in the presence of God. It's been the most beautiful miracle I have ever seen. On my previous videos on my channel, you can actually hear more in details my testimony. But today I kind of want to focus on a marathon. So going all the way back, right? So after I saw the movie, I went into a program, and I remember when I got to that program, I used to say, guys, I'm gonna run a marathon. I'm gonna run a marathon. And we had a trainer that used to come in and kind of help us, work out and talk about God. And I used to tell him, like, listen, one day I'm gonna run a marathon. Because I used to say I was gonna run the New York Marathon, because never did I imagine God would actually bring me to Miami and let me live the dreams that I originally had. So because I was living in Connecticut, I was like, the closest marathon is the New York Marathon, and it's a famous one. So like, because Brittany also ran the New York Marathon, so I was like, oh, I'm gonna run the New York Marathon. Anyways, I started training in a program, never worked out, got out of the program, kept trying to run a marathon, but never, kept training, but nothing worked out. And then I lost my mom last year, which kind of put this dream to the side, where I kind of started focusing on grieving and life. And it wasn't until 8 months ago, I think 8 months ago, I moved to Miami, and then God led me to this church called VU Church. And in there, I started meeting people, and I remember going into a small group, the VU Church that I attend. We have small groups, and I ended up going to this one. It was about fitness. And when I got there, I met this girl, Annie, and we became friends. And one day she was talking about running, and she goes, oh, I have a little running group, and if you want to be a part of it. And I was like, all right. So I became part of it. And in the group, she mentioned running a marathon. And at that time, I felt God saying, this is your chance to run the marathon that you say you would if you get out of drugs, and I got you out. So now you got to do your end of the bargain. So then I started to, so I signed up to run the marathon, and every week, me and Andy and everyone else started training week after week after week, and I started getting better and faster, and in the process, I lost 35 pounds, and my miles went from like 10 something a mile to, I think the fastest mile I ever done was like 8:27. And then I was actually able to do 12 miles at 8:31, and your friend here was feeling it, like super excited, thought I did everything correctly. I was training consistently every week, and the day the marathon comes. So that was great. The marathon comes, and I'm ready. We show up super early. I ate all the foods I was supposed to. When I get to the marathon, guys, in the morning, Like you barely could see. I mean, for 2 days I didn't sleep. The day one, my flight was delayed from work. I slept for 3 hours. The day of the marathon, I slept for 5. The butterflies were crazy, but ready to go. We get in line, and I start the race. Guys, it was like super emotional because I knew it was something I wanted to do. You know what I mean? And just to actually be able to complete something that you started felt really great for me. And I started killing it on the marathon, guys. I was doing it like 8 something a mile. Then I found this 4 people who were running it at a pace about 8:05. And I was like, I'm gonna follow them because I feel really good. So guys, I was running about 8:05 throughout the almost 12 miles, 12 or 13 miles. I ran at 8:05. But then something happened that I was not expecting. My legs were not responding. Because I was training, there's one thing about training in the day of, and two, when we trained as a group, we always trained super early. And in Miami, it's super humid and hot, and that day was super hot. And I was not prepared for that, and I don't think my body knew that it was gonna be like that. So I started, guys, to really like slow down, and it was kind of like me, the top half of my body wanted to kill it, but my legs, for some reason, were not moving. So then I started to feel discouraged because my miles started going slow. But it wasn't until I made a turn and I saw a friend of mine from church, Lisa. She's part of my small group. And she just jumps into the race. She goes, come on now, let's go. I'm going to run with you a little bit. So she starts running with me a little bit. And then in hindsight, it was the hand of God, because I'm going to tell you her side of the story and what my perspective of what God did. God knew that my body was not going to be able to handle what I had trained because of the circumstances I wasn't prepared for. And he knew that I would need someone to speak life into me, just because it was something that I really wanted and trained for, and he knew I was discouraged. And it wasn't until Lisa told me that she actually woke up that day and she was like, oh, the runner's right here, and that my name came into her heart. Look how God did. God knew that. God put my name in her heart. So she comes down and she timed it correctly. So she goes, Alan, when I walked out of the door, she goes, if you would have ran 2 seconds later, I would have missed you. Or earlier, I would have missed you. Right when she walked out of her door of her house. And guys, after 12 miles of the marathon, 15,000 people, 2 seconds after she walks out of her door, I am running in front of her door. And that was such a gift from God. And she ends up, she told me she was only going to run a mile with me. Guys, she ended up running almost, I think she ran 11 miles. It was the most beautiful thing I have ever experienced when it comes to community. Every step of the way, she kept speaking life into me. She kept encouraging me. And when I needed water, she went out of her way. I mean, she even got, I don't know where she got a Starbucks water from. But in my mind, my legs, my calves would cramp up and they would twist. And I could barely walk. And I always felt so defeated. And all of a sudden, I went from running 8-minute miles to 9-minute miles to have to actually walk. I had to walk for a good chunk of it. And now inside of me, I'm like, I'm going to do this. And she kept saying, Alan, you're amazing. You're my hero. Alan, this is amazing. Your legs are not working, but you're still pushing. And every time she said that, guys, it ignited a fire in me. And it pushed me. And it kept driving me. And she ran all the way almost to the end. So then after she left, you guys, I was so thankful, because just to see that a human being would do something like that. And she's even said to me, she goes, Alan, I was only going to run a mile with you, but I ended up running almost the whole thing with the second half with you. And that, guys, was such a beautiful gift from God. And I remember another funny story now. So my bib says, I think it's probably backwards, but it says Jesus for life. So here I am, because my purpose was, I'm gonna wear this Jesus for life, and I'm gonna hopefully someone's Christian, they can read it, and then we can talk about Jesus, or maybe preach the gospel through that. So I'm running, and all of a sudden I hear this, come on, Jesus, let's go, Jesus. I'm like, who are they talking to? I said, Jesus. And I was like, oh, bro, I live in Miami. Ain't nobody gonna read Jesus. People thought my name was Jesus, y'all. And I was like, oh, man. I was like, next time I'm gonna put something else because Jesus, it was not my name is Alan. So then anyways, I kind of make it to almost the end. And in the end, guys, I was ready. You know, when you see people run, when they finish the finish line, they all go up like, yeah. So that was my goal, y'all. I wanted to cross that finish line, get that professional photos of me like this. Well, when I made the last turn, because when you make the little last turn to see the finish line, there's so many people there. And they are screaming, like people are like chanting for you. So when I made the turn and I heard people screaming, they're like, let's go, you got this. Guys, that hyped me up. So when I went to lift up my arms, y'all, both of my calves went like this. And I was like, and I fell. And then everyone was like, no, get up, you gotta do this, get up. So I was like, I'm trying, y'all, but y'all was hyping me up. Now my calves locked up and I'm in pain. So my finish line photos, if you saw my Instagram, my finish line photos, I'm like, because I literally had to hop all the way to the finish line. But anyway, guys, I finished it. I ran the whole marathon in 4 hours, 29 minutes at the 10:17 pace. And it was surreal. It was so beautiful. I was so thankful. I started telling everybody, you know what? I thought this marathon thing was going to be a thing, but after today, I'm going to check it off my bucket list and keep it moving. That was my goal, guys. I said, I'm not doing it no more. It was great. I did it for Jesus, got my medal, kept it moving. But our ways are not God's ways. And yesterday I had such a breakthrough with God, because the reason why I said I'll never run a marathon again is because I felt discouraged that the outcome of what I trained for wasn't what I expected. And the lesson that God taught me was, when you do something for the first time that you have never done and you have no idea what it really feels like, the chances of working out exactly what you planned, it's pretty slim because you have no experience. And I felt a little bit discouraged because I wanted to run the marathon at under 4 hours, and I ran in 4:29. But that goal was not realistic because the training that I did, yes, I was able to hit 8:31 miles for 12 miles, but that was one time. If I want to be able to maintain that, I'm going to have to train really hard and hit that every time I run, so that by the time I run the marathon, it's not like it's a surprise to my body or a surprise. No, my body will know how it feels to run at that pace, you know. And I think that was a huge eye-opener for me. And yesterday, God was like speaking to my heart, and He's like, bro, if that's what you want, you can do it. So guess what? Your friend just signed up for the 2023 Miami Marathon again. And this time I got a training guide. I got a training buddy to train with at the same pace. And guys, next year I'm going for that under 4 hour marathon. I'm going to try to run at 8. I think if I run at 8:46 for 26 miles consistent, not slower, maybe faster, but not slower, then I'll be able to achieve that goal, you know. So that's just my little story. I hope it inspires you to take a chance to run the marathon. It is a beautiful, it's a challenge, but it's an accomplishment that not a lot of people have. And it gives us purpose. It gives us positive things to do in life. You know, that's been such a big lesson for me to learn that I don't want to spend my life sitting on the couch watching Netflix, watching movies, and being on social media all days. I want to spend my days doing something that's productive, because we know that life here on earth is temporary. We don't live forever. I'm 36 years old. I want the second half of my life, if I live to 70, to be the best years of my life. You know, I want to have memories. I want to do things that challenge me. I want to do things that make me grow. And this marathon has put that drive in me. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday. We were already planning to do other things. I have Ironman now, and now the Miami Marathon. And it really shows me that with discipline, consistency, and not holding on so tightly to the outcome, because we're not in control, God is. If I'm able to hold on to those key things, then I'll be able to do so much more in life. So I hope that inspires you. Thank you for watching my video, and I'll see you guys next time.